So, we wanted to invite you, Sister Zahra, to come speak with us as we discuss some of the things that um, people that are in the marriage phase that they should think about and kind of decide on before they start seeking a spouse. And one of those topics that we thought about was um, when people are just like thinking about themselves, what are they bringing into a marriage?
I love this topic.
Yeah. So why, like, I guess first we could begin with why is it important for someone to think about what they're bringing into a marriage?
hmm Okay. So even before that, right, you have to have a good kind of sense of what's the purpose of marriage? Why do you want to get married? Then what am I bringing to a marriage, right? So what's the purpose
Mm-hmm.
of marriage? The purpose of marriage is for two people to unite, to support one another, to to start a family, to be the building blocks of a family, whether you have children or not, but those two people coming together are a family.
Mm-hmm.
So that purpose of supporting one another, seeing each other, right, in a marriage, in especially in the Islamic sense of the marriage, a marriage is the only union where non-mahram men and women come together and can literally see one another fully in all ways. So you're allowing someone outside of your home to like get a real look at who you are as a person, what your insecurities are, what your strengths, what your weaknesses, what you like to do, what you dislike, your opinions, your thoughts. The fullness of who you are is allowed to be expressed, exposed, seen, be intimately shared with another.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really powerful union because even within our own families, we may feel like we can't fully express everything about who we are, right? I can't totally
Right.
tell my mom all my opinions, or I can't tell
Mm-hmm.
my brother or my sibling, all the things I think about this. But
Right.
in a marriage, that's the place where you can, right? Like the Prophet ﷺ,
Yes.
who's the first person he told when he gets revelation, right? He
Yes.
tells his wife, right? It's like
Yes.
you wouldn't come. I mean, it's just natural. You wouldn't come running to your dad and be like, oh my God, I experienced an extraterrestrial like thing. Like your dad's like, what is going on? Like, are you doing drugs? Like, what's happening, right? Your friends, same thing. Like, what's up? They're not invested enough in your life to really care. But your spouse is like, wait, what are you saying? What is this? Explain it to me. They're sitting, they're listening, they're there for the ride, right? They're the ride or die. So that's the
Yes.
purpose of marriage, that you get to
Yeah.
fully be. Okay.
And
And
when you
so then
were,
why do you want to get married? Why
yeah.
you want to get married, most people, even if you don't know, that is the reason why you want to get married. You want to get married to fully be seen. You want to get married
Mm,
so you have a place to like literally and figuratively just be free and be naked, like just be your true naked self, right? Where
mm,
everywhere else at work you have to put on a show, and in your house with your family, with your parents you have to put on a show, but in this place with this person, I don't have to put on a show. I can just be my real self. And that's why we want to get married. We are craving that connection, that freedom, that release, that space where we can just be like, you know what? I'm feeling really lazy, or I don't want to cook, or I'm really annoyed at what this person said or that person said. And you're not going to be judged, or you're not going to be, um, you know, all the things that might come up in different relationships.
mm. It's such a sanctified union the way you were describing it, and you're like differentiating between other people of the same gender in our lives versus like our spouse, right? It's like this sanctified, private union between two people where it's like you said, you're able to be like your pure self. Like it's just the raw version of yourself. And hopefully that person accepts you, right? In a healthy relationship, that person accepts that raw version of yourself.
Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
gonna chime in and say also I think what Zara kind of alluded to is vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like being vulnerable, which for most of us is a very difficult thing to be or do with somebody. And then I think when you're able, like being vulnerable, I think allows for you to develop a deeper, more connected relationship as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Vulnerability is key to any true connection.
Yes.
Absolutely key, right? I mean, again, we can use the example of the Prophet ﷺ. If he had the experience of revelation and then felt like, you know what, no one's going to understand me, not even Hadija. Hadija's not going to understand me. And I just need to keep this to myself because everyone's going to think I'm crazy. Everyone's going to, think this, I just made this up. So I need to keep this to myself. And we know that like the next revelation didn't come for a long time. What would that have done to his relationship with Hadija, right? He would have come down from the mountain a little shaken up, like, oh, I had a bad scare, or, it was I almost slipped on the hike, whatever, right? Like making something else up. um, he would have been closed off. He would have been in his room or in his head, like ruminating, thinking, because he couldn't be vulnerable. It would have destroyed their relationship because he is keeping a secret. And it's not like it's a bad secret or it's a whatever secret, but it's just he's carrying this burden on his own because he
Mm.
doesn't think he has anyone to be vulnerable with. It would
Yeah.
have um been, or even if like he was vulnerable and let's say Hadija radiallahu anha was like, what are you talking about, like this is insane, like what you mean you saw a large figure with huge wings, like what is going on, it's altitude sickness, whatever, right? Like same thing, it would have shut it down. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ had Hadija, right? That's why Allah blessed him with Hadija, that Allah is giving him, here's a person who's fully going to support you and she's going to believe you when the time comes to believe you because of your history together and because of how much she knows about you, right? Like that's the first thing she said. She said, no, right? Like Allah has not forsaken you. You are kind. You are generous. You take care of your family. Like all of these things
Mm.
I know about you. What you saw is true. Like, let's go figure this out. We are going to understand this and work on this together. So him being vulnerable and her also being vulnerable. It's vulnerable to say like, I believe in the impossible. I believe in a miracle. That's also a vulnerable position. But their vulnerability together is what made them able, what made the Prophet ﷺ able to really carry the mantle of prophethood. Like it is very clear from the seerah that the Prophet ﷺ could not have been a prophet, could not have carried the mantle of prophethood without Khadija. Like she solidified it for him, and he needed her. And we know that because Allah gave him her, right? He gave him her,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is the person you need by your side to be able to do this. On your own, you cannot do it. You can only do it with this person. So that's really the when we're talking about marriage, what we're talking about is what is it these two people coming together going to be able to bring into the world to support each other with that they cannot do alone.
So,
I
bouncing off of that, sorry, Imani, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Bouncing off of what you're saying, how would somebody um, who's looking to get married, I guess, figure out what their strengths and their weaknesses are? Like, what can they do to learn more about themselves, so that one, not only are they becoming aware of who they are as an individual, but two, to help them navigate what is it that they're looking for in a spouse.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to spirituality.
Yes, yes. So the beautiful thing is that all you have to do is pay attention to your life. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do any like magical work. You don't have to go on retreats. You don't have to do a whole bunch of things. Again, even like looking at the prophet's life, I know I just keep going back to the prophet's life, but
Honestly.
he's paying attention to his life. He's like, oh,
Mm.
when I'm on a caravan, when I'm a child, and the man stops me and says they see something in my shoulder blades, or I have this experience of like the angels cleaning out my heart. He's paying attention to his life. He's like, something is going on. Something's going on here, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the thing that happens for many of us is like, we'll have coincidences, we'll have experiences. Someone will say something to us, and we're like, that's random. That's weird.
Mm.
That doesn't make sense. And we'll brush it off. Like, no, that wasn't random. No, that wasn't weird. No, that wasn't just a coincidence. that is something for you to pay attention to. That means something. That is something about you. Why did that person say it to you? Why did that teacher give you that leadership position? Why did that, you know, bully tease you about that thing that made you retreat inwards? Why did these things happen? What are they exposing to you? If you just pay attention to your life, you will, is leading you towards him on a spiritual
Mm.
journey. Which brings us to the question that you started this, right? What are you bringing to a marriage? And I think the kind of traditional or like mainstream cultural thinking around this is like, what assets do you have to bring and what characteristics can you contribute, right? Like that you're kind or you're patient or you're hardworking or you make a lot of money or you're going to be able to provide or to cook or to nurture.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, develop all of those qualities within yourself, get your education, be able to learn how to fix a tire or be able to cook, whatever. But that's not what you're bringing to a marriage. Sure, you have those skills, you have those characteristics, you have those qualities, but that's not what you're bringing to a marriage. What you're bringing to a marriage is yourself, is just yourself. And when you can just honor and know and appreciate how valuable just you are, that's when you'll be able to be the best partner in a relationship that without needing to prove or justify or show that I have these credentials and these things. Like, I'm just amazing. Allah created me, and I have so many things to express and give. And if I am just here with you, raw and real about who I am and my experiences, that's it. That's enough.
But I don't think Zahra people showcase that until like when people are getting to know each other so many like weeks down the line. Like they don't even, because everyone's first I guess the information that they share about themselves is what you mentioned. Oh, this is what I work as. This is my age. This is my
It's a resume.
height. It's like a resume. It's like the bio data, like legit. It's they call it a bio data for a reason. It's almost like your DNA, and it's like, what am I doing with this? It doesn't even tell me who you are as a person. So how can people a little bit show that in the beginning of getting to know someone, or like how can they like not hide that raw version of themselves when they're like getting to know someone from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So you're gonna present your bio data, right? Like there's no way around that. You're gonna present and they're gonna see, if you meet in person, they're gonna see half your bio data is visible when they just meet
Mhm.
you. But all you're doing, right? Nothing's really gonna change about the traditional way, of getting to know someone and meeting someone for marriage. What's changing is inside. What's changing is that what I'm bringing to this relationship is me. So when someone's asking you about what you do or where you live or what your parents were like or blah, 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 and you're sharing those things, there's
Mhm.
no pressure around any of that sharing because you're like, yeah, I can tell you, I went through this traumatic experience in high school and my parents are like this and I make this much money or I don't make any money or whatever. You can just share it because it's when you think that like those are the things that you're bringing, then you share it in a certain way. Well, when I was growing up, things were like this, or my father was so religious and blah blah blah, and I make this much money, but I'm still want to be a housewife, or I don't make any money, blah, right? You present it in this way of like, let me show you how this is good or how it fits or how you can work around it or how you can whatever, because these are the things of who I am and I need to
Mhm.
present it in a package that you will be willing to accept. But when you know that, like, look, buddy, what I'm bringing to the relationship is me. And these are all the things that shaped me. I went through this when I was in whatever, and this is how much money I make, and this is what I did it up. All of these, some things about my past and my ethnicity and those things can't change. They're who I am.
Mhm.
But a lot of things about how I act and how I react might change, could change in different circumstances. They already are different. Um, and this is just me. Like, it's not even like, what do you think? It's just like, this is who I am. Is this something that vibes with you? Is this something that's going to work with you? Because what I'm bringing to the relationship is all of me. And this are all of the things that created and shaped me up until this point. And would you like to continue creating and shaping a life together with someone of this makeup?
Yeah.
But I
So do you
think to
feel like
even,
it's just the energy?
I was gonna say, to even get to that point where you're willing to say that, okay, like it's just me that I'm bringing to my relationship, it first requires self-acceptance.
Yes, it's
And
the
I think
ultimate
that's something,
self-acceptance. Mhm.
yeah, so I think that's something that like would require work on your end, because if you're not accepting of yourself, then I guess how can you expect somebody else to accept you as you are? But that doesn't mean that, okay, I don't think self-acceptance means that, okay, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Like, not that attitude, right? Like, there's
Mhm.
always room for growth, there's always room for improvement. So self-acceptance at a level where, okay, this is where I am right now, accepting that fully, but still working towards like goals and visions and dreams for whatever you want in the future, and becoming a better version of you, because I think that's like a lifelong journey.
Yes. Anyone who is aware of themselves and anyone who is self-accepting is naturally going to be in a person who is evolving and a person who is growing, and that will look like different things, but in essence it'll be a person who is making progress, right?
Mm.
So the work, the quote unquote work a person has to do is to get to that place, to get to that
Mm-hmm.
place where they know that I'm good enough as I am. I don't need to get another degree or buy a house or, lose weight or do whatever, and then I'll be able to get married. No, I'm good enough as I am now, and I accept myself as I am now. And what I have to bring to a relationship is all of me. And that all of me is a growing, evolving person. Yes, I am going to buy a house. I am going to get more healthy. I am going to do those things because I want to and because I can't help myself, because I'm naturally going to be growing and evolving, but not because I need to. Otherwise, nobody's going to love me. Or, oh my God, the aunties are going to shame me. Or I'm not going to look good on my wedding day. Or blah, 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 all of that stuff.
Mm.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think that like me and Amani touched on this in a prior conversation about especially now with so much social media emphasis and like this comparison lifestyle, where you start to focus on like trying to be like somebody else, right? Like you're always looking at other people's strengths and wanting to be like them, but I think remembering that you're uniquely you, there's only one of you, right? And Allah created you wanting you to be here. And there's like it's a matter of, again, like you were saying, Zara, like becoming aware of that. Like pay attention to your life, right? Like what does, Amani said this, what comes to you easily, what works for you, what isn't. Because like what's easy for me may be very difficult for, let's say, Amani or you, right? But that's just something
Mhm.
that I'm not, what we'll call, naturally gifted at. Like hone in on that, right? Stop trying to be like every, and I'm I'm guilty of it too. Like you're always like, oh man, like you like look online, you're like, oh, I should be like this person or that person, or like I should be doing this with my life. But like, is that really what you want? Like questioning yourself, like what is it that you want? What am I good at? Honing in on that, emphasizing that, and like running with it, right? And like
Mhm.
you are uniquely you. So embracing that too, I think.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So like in all of my coaching work, right? So I wrote a book on that guides people through the courtship process.
Mm,
And the book is called Before I Do: 150 plus questions Muslims must ask before marriage. And the book is really outlining, right, how to get to that place within yourself where you are comfortable and confident in who you are. And then
mm,
how to look at the courtship process and be having conversations fueled by these questions, that we've listed a whole bunch of questions, but that it's not really about the questions. It's more about the understanding and the expressing of who you are, right? And so you're listening not to their answer that they said they want to live in this state or want to have these many children or only like to, eat this type of food.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the answers don't really matter. It's how they say it. It's how you respond to one another. It's what is the thought process behind it, right? What's the value system that underpins why they only would spend this much on a car versus this much on a house, right? So you're trying to hear and tease out someone's character, their values, their priorities, how they view themselves, how they'll view you, how they view a partnership, what roles they see in a relationship. You're trying to tease all of these things out to see if, hey, this is how I am and this is how you are, and are we gonna play well together? Are we gonna be able to do this dance of marriage and life together in a fun, joyful, adventurous, loving, supportive, caring way, right? Whatever adjectives that you value most in a relationship, are they going to be able to do that with you? And so
Yeah.
the courtship process, I find, is one of the most powerful tools for you to discover who you are and to have self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we'll go back as always to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? Hadija radiallahu anha is the wealthiest woman in Mecca. She is a business owner. She employs this man to, do some trading for her. She is already widowed, right? She doesn't need to get married. Her status, she didn't need to get married for the traditional reasons that women need to get married, to have someone to provide for them and all of those things. She was already respected. She already had money. Um, So she didn't need to get married. Okay, so you have her, a strong, confident, independent woman, if you will. And then you have the Prophet ﷺ, who is not a prophet at that time. He is a young, handsome bachelor who is, the most known as the most trustworthy in the community. He is in line to be the next leader of his tribe, Beni Hashim, and Beni Hashim is the most prestigious tribe. So he's in line to be like the chief of Mecca, right? So he's like the hottest, young, handsome, eligible bachelor who is going to be, powerful and prestigious.
Yeah.
And Khadija doesn't need to get married, right? Khadija doesn't need to get married, and if she wanted to get married, she could have married anyone. She could have married anyone, right? But when she interacts with the Prophet ﷺ, again, before pre-prophethood, when she interacts with Muhammad, the man, and he just does really good trading with her business and the way he presents himself, and comes back with the accounts or whatever, and she's just very taken by like, who is this person with such strong character, such high morals, such whatever. She's just like, I'm impressed. Like, if I were gonna do the dance of life with someone, I'd want to do it with someone like this. I'd want to do it with this guy, right? So she, has a lot of clarity and confidence in what she wants. That like, oh, this is the type of person that I would want, and I know I am worthy and good enough to have it. Yeah, I'm older. Yeah, I'm already married. Yeah, I make more money than him. But so what? Like, I think those are all great things. I think these are all good
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Well, in today's society, older women already married, making more money than a man, like, ooh, I don't know if you're gonna find anyone who's gonna want you, right? But here you have Hadija, like, what? I'm gonna go after the most eligible guy in the whole town, right? And then not only does she like, yeah, I'm interested, she sends word to him. Okay, so she sends word to him, right? We all know the story. I'm just pulling out different parts of it. And then you have Muhammad, who, the man, pre prophethood, who could be like any other macho chauvinistic guy who was running around Mecca having multiple wives, having, whatever shenanigans they were doing back in the day. We know it was the time of Jahiliyyah, like it was the time of ignorance. Like it's not like this was a morally upright society, right? They were doing all sorts of shenanigans. No one would have batted an eye at Muhammad, doing whatever. No one would have batted an eye at Muhammad, marrying a young woman, whatever. And that probably was expected of him. So here's a young, handsome guy who knows that everyone loves him and respects him. I'm known as the most trustworthy people. I'm in line to be chief. I could pull any woman that I want, right? And now he
Hmm.
gets a proposal from an older, widowed, right, used goods, rich woman. Like, okay, like this old broad, like what is she like? Does she know who I am? Right? Could have been his attitude. But his attitude of knowing who he is, he's like, well, I am not like the people of this town. Like, I am trying to live morally and, see something greater for myself and for my life. So when he understands who he is and he sees Hadijah's proposal, he's like, okay, well, here's a woman who's like clearly like, uh, about like building herself up and growing. Like, this is someone that I can dance with life with. And that's the beauty of that union, is that they both were not looking at the resumes of what the things that they had. They both were looking at, who am I? What do I want? How can I grow? What can I bring? And what I'm bringing is all of me. Hadijah knows I'm bringing me. I'm amazing and I'm wonderful and I'm thoughtful and I'm a savvy businesswoman and da da da, and all of these great characteristics that make me and make my life. And the Prophet ﷺ, he knows I am trustworthy and I'm honest and I'm a good business man, and I would, partner well in her business and partner well in her life. I am bringing that. Yes, let's do this.
Wow, that was powerful. I really think it was like you said, like Allah brought Khadijah into Prophet Muhammad's life because of her qualities, her strong personality, so that when the revelation came, it was her that was like totally believed in him without having seen anything herself, right? It takes a huge, like, really sense of confidence in the person, right? And they probably built that prior to that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think one thing that we all have to think about for those that are like in the marriage seeking phase is like really think about where you are in your life and where you're planning to go and who's going to have, like, which team member do you need on that team? Because it's like you said, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like a dance, or like it takes two to tango. I like to think of it like a team, right? Like we're like it's like me and him against the world, right? And it's like, what qualities do I want in my teammate,
Yeah.
right? I
Yes.
want them to be confident, right? For me, that's like if they're not confident, I'm just like, I don't have time for that. It's just because confidence brings so much to the table. It's like that's the level that I want to play at. It's like you really have to see what level or what kind of life am I looking to live in the future, and then like what qualities does that person have to have, right? Characteristic wise, and then also spiritually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you mentioned, like she was strong, like she was just like so strong and so firm. It's not like she still had to become strong, right? That could have, like when you mentioned that moment when he came back and she just believed in him, I was just imagining the complete opposite. Had he come back and it was like a layman woman and she was just like, wait, I'm not sure, what are we doing, are you okay, do you have a fever, like it would have changed the dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
right, of how the story
Yes.
continues.
Or even like if it was a woman who was doing it for the resume, right? Who was like, well, I am wealthy and I have a great business, and ooh, this guy, he's next in line to be chief. So this is perfect. We're going to be the most powerful couple in Mecca. We're going to rule and we're just going to be looked up to by everyone. We can have the best parties and blah blah blah. And then, her man comes home and he's like, I've seen a vision and blah blah blah. She's like, wait, what are you talking about? You're screwing with our great life. Like, what are
Yeah.
you like? No, 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 no. You're about to be chief. Like, stop this. Stop. Right? But she was not about the resume. She was about him
Mm,
as a person.
Mm, yeah. So how can we um for two things, how can people learn to see their own spiritual strengths and what that means in a marriage, right? And also how can they learn to see the other person's strengths? Because also, like, when you're getting to know someone, I think a lot of us, we get stuck on the superficial, right? Especially when you're like in the beginning phases, you never really did the sit downs too many times and you didn't really get to meet too many people, and you are looking at the answer versus looking at the reason behind the answer, right? So what kind of suggestions would you have for people, Zahra, that are like very early on? Maybe they only spoke to two people in the past and they're really nervous and jittery and they're just like, um, you know, how do I
Yeah,
get to the
yeah.
core of the person?
Mm-hmm. Um, well, one, get my book. My book outlines it and then like is literally there as your guidebook with you through the courtship process. That's one. I mean, the the truth is
Hmm.
like there's nothing to do. You're totally good and fine as you are, right? And there's
Hmm.
nothing to learn because you're totally good and fine. Like every person, every woman I meet, every woman I coach, every man I meet, every man I coach, they're awesome. They're incredible. Like they're great, right? And just like all of, the single people say, like, I don't know why I'm single, like, or I don't know why my friend is single. Yes, no, there's no reason not that you should be single. You can't, you are absolutely perfectly fine as you are. So there's nothing to learn. There is things to unlearn. Basically, you're unlearning caring about the resume, your own resume and their resume, right? So like I said, you're still going to be presenting this biodata of resume and all of this stuff. You're still going to be writing it up, giving it to people, reading other people's. But what you have to unlearn is that any of that actually matters. Oh, they're a doctor. Oh, their family is, wealthy. Oh, their parents are divorced. Oh, they have a kid. You have to unlearn that any of that crap actually matters. It's information. It's good to know. You may have preferences and thoughts about it. And that's fine that you can prefer this ethnicity or this type of whatever. That's fine. But when you begin to, at least in your own, you start with your own resume. When you begin with your own resume to kind of divest your energy from believing that like me presenting this resume really well is what's going to help me connect. When you are understanding like, okay, I got to tell them like, the basic outline, the biodata of who I am, but obviously, I am so much more than that. And obviously, I am awesome and amazing. And obviously, I am looking for someone who's going to add to my life that we're going to accelerate and grow together, right? I'm not looking for to add a deadbeat loser who's going to bring me down and drag me, to the ground. So when I have that kind of energy that like, yes, here's my biodata, but it's not it's not representative of the awesomeness that is me, then you can present that biodata to anyone with a lot more lightheartedness and ease and, not take offense when someone is not interested or whatever, right? And the same thing when you read someone biodata, you also are not, oh my goodness, wow, they're like this or they're like that. Like you're not taking it so heavy. You're like, okay, this is interesting. This is some good bare bones, basic things. Let's talk and let's see what the fullness of this person is so I can get to know them. So you're unlearning what society has told you matters, and you are re-remembering what actually matters. And if you find this difficult to do, that's what coaching helps you do. That's what I do as a coach. What I do as a coach is help you unlearn all the crap that made you feel less than, not enough, that you need to do all of these things, that put all of your energy and effort into your resume and into all of this stuff. I help you unlearn that, and I help you support you as you walk through a courtship process to be able to notice that in others so you don't get tripped up in the, oh my God, they go to the masjid every morning for Fajr and blah, blah, blah. And like, okay, yeah, but how do they make you feel? Or do they constantly interrupt you and cut you off? And, are they listening and respecting your opinions? Like, we don't care about the resume of they went to Hajj 5 times and blah, 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 if it's not actually lived out in the fullness of who they are in a way that is going to be supportive and generative to you and your relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I was gonna go off of that. I think that energy, if you can bring that energy into a relationship of, okay, this is somebody I'm meeting. I'm just like, you get to meet another human being, right? And I think like regardless, you can always look back on different interactions that you've had while you were getting to know somebody. And I feel like you always come away with something, right? You either learned an interesting fact, they introduced you to something new. Like it's always an opportunity to learn. And I think if you go in with a from a perspective of like curiosity and learning and exploring, like, okay, let's see, like, I'm gonna, like, what can I learn from this person? Obviously your intention is still marriage, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that's not going to be there, but go in more curious, like, okay, like, what can I learn from this? And I feel like you come across really interesting people, right? And like you get introduced to so many new things. So I think that also kind of softens like what you touched upon about like you won't be so, like, you won't take it so to heart um if it doesn't work out then.
Yeah, because now there's not this pressure of making things work, right? You're not like
Yes.
looking at this resume. Oh, all right, well, they want to live there, and I don't want to live there. But can I
Yes.
compromise? Can I make it work? Like you're not trying to fit yourself into some puzzle that you're not supposed to be in. You're actually just being curious and open. Like, hey, are we teammates? Are you supposed to be on my team? Are we supposed to be
Mm.
dancing together? And you start dancing and you're like, actually, you keep stepping on my toe. It's not going to work. Next partner. And you just switch. It's not this like, oh my God, if I don't like them, then oh, what does that say about me? Maybe Allah's not going to send me another person. And I mean, the issue, getting married is simple. Getting married is very simple. Getting married is very easy. We have literally overcomplicated it and screwed ourselves over to make it into this huge rigmarole circus mess that women are standing on their heads doing a whole bunch of things and men are doing a whole bunch of things that is literally, instead of bringing people together, is pushing them further and further and further apart. And the sooner people unlearn all the nonsense, you will click and connect, and you will click and connect in such an easy, light, effortless, fun way that you'll be like, well, where the heck have you been? Like, what the
Mm.
heck is going on? Was this just all a terrible, bad dream and nightmare? And yes, it was. You put yourself through a nightmare because there's no reason for this nightmare. You're literally just floating through life looking like, hey, I'm pretty awesome. Who's the awesome person that's supposed to be my dance partner? None of
Right.
this, none of this mumbo jumbo.
So for anybody who's either like, let's go with somebody who's starting this journey, who's already in it, who's been on it for years now, like what would be your take home? Like let's say three actionable steps that they can do right now on this journey
Okay,
to find
so
their one.
you said somebody who's just starting, somebody who's been in it, and somebody who's been in it for years. So for
Mhm.
somebody who's just starting, um, okay, so for everyone listening on this, like, get my book, get the book, listen to my YouTube. Like, if this is resonating with you, then listen to more of it. Or if there's somebody else that resonates, whatever, do that. But stay in the place of knowing that you're awesome and you're amazing and nothing is wrong with you, that you don't need to change, fix anything. You don't need to lose weight. You don't need to gain weight. You don't need to get taller. You don't need to wear different clothes. You don't need to. You don't need to get married. Maybe you want to for your own self, but
Mhm.
that should be your wanting for your own self. I want to update my wardrobe. I want to, become healthier. I want to, but it's not because if I don't, I won't get married or nobody's going to like me for that, right? There's a very different sentiment. So I hope that's clear,
Mhm.
that you are absolutely perfectly fine just as you are. So that's one thing that's across the board. For people who are new and just starting out, and let's say, even on the younger side, right, in your 20s, my advice and suggestion is to not listen to anyone who is older. Don't listen to any older person, especially if they're like over 30 and single. Bad advice. If they're whatever they're thinking and whatever they thought, whatever advice they're giving you would have worked, they would be married, and they're not. So do not listen to them. I know it's harsh, but just like the blind leading the blind, don't listen. So if you're in your 20s and you're young, just allow yourself to have fun, and and I don't mean have fun in like this, oh my God, like whatever
Yeah, yeah.
Western way, but just to let things be light and be like, I'm doing this and I want to go to this school, or I want to travel overseas, or I want to, do this charity work, whatever it is. Do the things that you like, do the things that you enjoy, knowing that you're amazing. And when you interact with people, try and keep it in the energy of like curiosity of let me share about myself, let me hear about you, and let yourself connect with love. Let yourself connect with love, um, when if and when it arises. That's my advice for young people. For anyone who has been looking for a while, let's give it a time frame. Anyone who's been looking for 2 years plus, right? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I had someone come to me, I've been looking for 15 years. Anyone who's doing that, and you're in the space of like, I don't know, I'm kind of jaded, there's no good guys, blah, blah, blah. Then if you're having those thoughts, or guys don't like me, or they're intimidated by me, or my parents are divorced and so I never saw a healthy relationship. If you're telling yourself, or you're telling other people about how bad the apps are and how things suck and why things are not working out for you, if you're in a story and you like to explain why things are not working out for you, what that means is that you have stuff to unlearn, and you need to unlearn it as fast as you possibly can, because if you do not unlearn it, you will remain stuck. I literally am coaching women in their 40s, because it's been 15 years, it's been 20 years of looking, and that story is, just gets more and more solid over time. I'm too advanced in my career. I'm too tall. I am too accomplished. My parents make so much money. My parents make no money. I only live in this small town. I only live in what the story just becomes ingrained, and you need things to unlearn. So you have a choice to make on how you're going to unlearn that. But you have to do it. And if you're listening to me, if you come across this recording, my suggestion would be to work with me, right? Like, you're listening to me, it is resonating, to work with me. But if there's something else in your path, in your way, take it. It is Allah's guidance to send to you. Like, this block, I don't want to use the word block. What you've done is create resistance. You created resistance and friction in a process that can be smooth. So do you want to continue, right? It's like driving down a road with a whole bunch of potholes that is like, uh, driving for like 100 miles. Do you want to continue driving down this 100-mile road with a whole bunch of potholes, or do you want to take a detour that is a smooth road that has no potholes and is only 10 miles?
Hmm.
You get to choose, right? And the issue that I find with many Muslims, um, that I find with many Muslims, that is true of me, I should say, that was true of me, and that I still am working on, is that we have a very high tolerance for pain. We will be driving down this terrible road full of potholes, and we'll literally see signs. We'll see signs on the road like smooth road over here, shorter shortcut over here. And we will just be looking at, well, maybe Allah wills for me to drive on this potholed road. Maybe if I'm just so patient with driving on this potholed road, oh, inshallah, I will be rewarded, but, because Allah loves those who test those whom he loves. So he loves me so much. So that's why I'm on this pothole road. So instead of literally like Allah sending you signs, detour, smooth road, shortcut, blah, 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 we will ignore all of them. I'm not going to do Zahra's coaching program. I'm not going to get the book. I'm not going to, listen to my friend who is married. I'm going to go listen to my single friends who aren't married. I'm not, you're right. Like, they're ignoring all the signs because well, maybe I'm supposed to be on this terrible potholed road on this horrific journey because Allah willed. No, Allah did not will. You are willing that. You are willing that. And that issue is so prevalent in Muslims for so many things, for financial things, for relationship things, for family things, for all things. But this high tolerance for pain, instead of, for many people, for a lot of non-Muslims, I find that they're more, yeah, I want to get off this pothole road. Oh, there's a detour. I'm going to go invest in that. Or I'm going to go try that out. Or yeah, it seems like it's off the beaten path, or it's scary, or it's a dark road I can't really see, but it says that it's shorter. They're more willing to get off and get the help, whereas Muslims are literally more willing to suffer more because we believe in suffering for suffering's sake. And in our
Mm.
tradition, yes, the Prophet ﷺ, the righteous, the believers, all of these people went through hardships and challenges, but there is never an instance of any of them suffering just for suffering. The Prophet ﷺ did not be like, okay, well, I invited you guys all to Islam, and now they're boycotting us and stoning us and hurting us and all of these things, but that's what Islam is. Now we all suffer and we just sit here. No, the entire time he is looking for another town to send people to. He is sending people off to Abyssinia. He is finding, sneaking people food. He is finding a way to get out of suffering. You are not supposed to suffer. We are supposed to get out of this. God is on our side. Whatever avenue, detour, signpost that we can find to get us out, I will, right? And back in the day, moving to another country, being a refugee was a huge deal. It was a huge shame on the tribe that, like, wow, your own people were mistreating you, that you had to flee. Like, you made the town look bad, so it made the Meccans look really bad. And it's a big deal to go to a country where you don't know the language and all of those things. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ was like, no, you are not supposed to suffer. You will get out. Who can buy the slaves? Someone buy them out. Someone do this. Out of the suffering. And I don't know where. I do not understand where in our religion, where in the history of Islam that it got twisted that we are just supposed to sit around and suffer. It's not.
Wow, mashallah, that was a lot. But it's really amazing points that hopefully inshallah can change people's perspective on the whole approach to marriage. Um, Zahra, where can people find you on social media? And if you want to tell people, I had listened to your the keys, was it? No, Drop the Love Struggle, which was awesome when you offered it for free for a weekend, I think it was, or for a week. So if you want to tell people about that program, because I feel like it's very relevant to our audience.
Sure, yeah. So you can find me I'm most active on Instagram. My handle is at Practical Muslim. I'm also on YouTube. If you just Google my name, Zahra Al Jabri, you'll find all the stuff. But social media, Instagram and YouTube. YouTube's where you can find a lot of videos and clips. The coaching programs and support that I offer is number one, the book, as I've repeatedly mentioned. It's called Before I Do. That's just easy because people love books. Number
Mm-hmm.
two is I have a webinar called Get Married This Year. And that webinar outlines for you what it will take, what needs to align for you to get married in 12 months or less. And that's a really powerful program. People have emailed me like, I watched this program and it was like 10 months later, I'm married. And that was the only thing they
Mashallah.
watched. Then I have Drop the Love Struggle, which you mentioned. And Drop the Love Struggle is a program that I now am offering occasionally for free. So the next time, I'm actually going to be offering it next week for free for 3 days. So if you go to my Instagram, you can get on my email list and you will be on the list to get the link of when it's available for free for 3 days. And that program is kind of walks you through what I outlined here, right? Like that you don't need to be suffering down this pothole road. You can get off and stop suffering. So you're going to drop this love struggle because we're as Muslims, as a society, we just glorify and love the struggle. Like anything you struggle for, like we love the rags to riches story, the hero's journey, all of that stuff. And so you will learn how you can just drop that and move into being open and receptive to the love that you want instead of trying to struggle and suffer for the love that you want. The next program I have is called The Keys to Love. And The Keys to Love is now you're getting into a real full coaching program. This is a 3-month coaching program. I guide you through 12 modules on everything through courtship from top to bottom. It There's a VIP option that comes with a whole bunch of bonuses. You get to be in a group with me where you can ask me questions during that whole 3 months, and it will guide you to unlearn, right? That's where you're going to unlearn
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that are throwing a wrench in, all the things that are creating the potholes in your road. That will guide you to unlearn so you can be on that smooth road. So that's The Keys to Love. And then the final coaching program I have is larger and more comprehensive, and that is called Limitless Love. And Limitless Love is a year-long coaching journey with myself and my husband. It's a group coaching program, so you actually meet with us twice a week over Zoom, and we are supporting you step by step through your love, through your career, through family, through your whole life, right? It's life coaching to discover that you are, a limitless divine creation of Allah, created out of love and for love. So that's why it's called Limitless Love. And all of those programs, you can find the links and information to them um, on my Instagram, or again, Google my name and you'll get to my website. My website is limitless.practicalmuslim.com.
MashaAllah. A
Thank you
lot
for
of
sharing.
awesome things.
I feel like you
Yeah.
for everybody, like across the board. So, um, definitely, who's that? Like,
Yeah, well, thank you for having
and
me.
listening.
This was a wonderful discussion.
Like,
Yes, inshallah. Thank you so much for your
um,
time, Zahra. And I really, Maryam, you're like coming in and out. I'm not sure if you're talking. The sound is like coming in and out. But I do want to add the drop the love struggle is so worth it. And after each module, she has these amazing questions for you to ask yourself. And like she mentions, to unlearn what you've learned and to really sit down and reflect. And one thing I'll share about like any journey or working with any coach, they're there to help you. But at the end of the day, it takes you to put in the effort, right? Nobody can come and change your life for you, right? So if you're sitting there just waiting for like things to just magically change without you doing anything, that's not gonna happen. But like Zahra says, if what she's saying resonates with you, then maybe that's your answer, right? And the only way for you to know is to try. There's so much that can come from coaching and from you reflecting and looking at your own life. And it's, I would say coaching is like one of the most powerful and fastest ways to get to that change. It's like almost taking like the VIP route to change. um, it is harder, but it's so worth it at the end.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's just a function of where do you want to invest your time, money, and energy? Investing it in losing weight in another degree, or investing it in the things that is going to improve your quality of life. And with coaching, absolutely, for me, I love my coaches, and like my quality of life improves from the first session. From the moment I make the investment, I already feel better about myself, that I'm prioritizing myself and my well-being and investing in the life I want to live, right?
Mm,
And how I want it to feel, and not just, again, what I want it to look like. Oh, well, I want to look like I have an MBA, or I want to look like whatever, I live in this type of apartment, but I'm feeling miserable, or I'm depressed, or I don't
no,
want to
I'm
hang out with my
driving a
friends.
particular car, Zahra. That's where all the joy is. Right? And then you
Mhm.
like, subhanAllah, you get it. And then 3 months later, you're like, oh, I'm back to square one. Yep. Yeah, that's how it is. But
Yeah, because basically, right, the thing that you have to remember is like you take yourself wherever you go. You take yourself to your new job, yourself to your new home, yourself to a marriage. So if you're not
mm,
happy with yourself, if you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't feel confident in your relationship with Allah, you're taking that to everything. So that sad, depressed, or insecure, or worried, or anxious self is going to make the car you're going to be worried and anxious about. It's going to make the house, it's going to make your degree. Oh my God, will I get a job? Blah, blah, blah. It won't matter until you get right by yourself. So that's what
mm,
coaching is for. It's like helps you know that you've got you and you're okay and you're good with you. So then anything and everything you do or don't do or have or don't have feels good because you feel good about you.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. That was a lot. And inshallah, I hope that Zahra, we can host you on another clubhouse and hopefully on a different topic, inshallah, if your schedule permits. Thank you once again so much for your time. And be sure you guys to check her out. She does have a lot of content on her Instagram, and especially keep an eye out for the love struggle, which
Yes,
is
get on my
gonna,
email list. Drop the Love Struggle is coming. You want it for free. It's an incredible program. If this helped you, that will change. That could shift everything for you. So
yes.
find me.
Jazakallah kulli khair, Zahra, and everyone. Thank you, Maryam. Maryam, are you still there?
I say thank you.
Oh, your voice is in and out again.
Yeah, you're choppy, but Wayakum, thank you for having me. I beautiful discussion, and
Yes.
I am
I'm excited.
We'll be in touch, inshallah. Assalamu
listener.
alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam.